How you doing, guys? Welcome back. It's LSP. We're going to be doing another episode of LSPTV Podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing the age of 10x or 20x or 100x, depending on how you look at it. And I want to kind of talk about, the kind of fix that people are looking for. And we're going to talk about a few ideas today. Socials, Discord, how this causes animosity, people fighting in the community or communities, depending on which one or which way you look at it. And I want to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive into the mentality of this almost cultish idea of the 10x or the 20x or the 100x and kind of how it's perpetuated in this space and how nobody really does anything to change it, right? So I was bouncing around some Discords today as of the recording of this video. And I was kind of reading, and then I jumped into a Telegram group, and I saw a couple of messages, and it kind of went along the lines of this, this 10x, and somebody said, and I'm sure we've all seen this type of message before. Oh, everybody's always expecting a 10x. That's not how things work. Da 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 da. Right? And we see this quite frequently. If you go from project to project, at some point you will see maybe an experienced investor or somebody who got in quite early, or even somebody who got in late or is sitting underwater. But at some point, somebody will say, everybody expects a 10x or a 20x. That's not what we're here for. It's a long-term investment, this, that, the other, and so on. But do people really believe this? Or is it just something that's become an almost, cliche thing to say, because nobody really wants to address the reality that maybe a particular project isn't doing what they say, or it's not fulfilling, on its objectives, or, the general market is just really crap or whatever. Yeah. So what are we really seeing, with this kind of 10x or 20x or 100x idea? It's almost like a drug, where it's years ago, it used to be, this trade, you can make millions, and it was kind of this day trading idea that was really pushed onto people. Become a day trader, you can make millions, you can make thousands every day, you can make thousands every minute, you can make thousands at the market open, and so on. And I'm sure those who've been around for a while will probably remember those adverts where you used to see people talking about trading the gap, during market open, and how I made, $2,342, at market open. And this is what I do every day, and blah, 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 which is complete nonsense, right? Obviously, when you look back, you're like, wow, how did I fall for that, right? But this is how it is. And when you see numbers like 10x and 20x on the screen, in adverts, flashy adverts and things like this, it does attract the attention of, newer investors, newcomers, and people who have no idea, about the cryptocurrency market and so on. So they get pulled into this. But what happens is ultimately they get invested in something, or they see a big, green candle. And this brings up a very important thing as well in terms of charts. You'll see something throughout the history of trading that has always caught the attention of traders and investors, and that is the big green candle. Something that's very striking. And this is why, the 1 minute, the 5 minute, and the 15-minute charts are so pushed onto, investors and traders, and the masses in terms of what they show you in adverts and what they show you, in these little snippets, because they really want you to see, this big green candle. I mean, I'd say most adverts or most banners and things like this, they don't, you're not really going to see like daily charts or weekly charts, because they don't really show, this kind of this hyped version, of an explosive move. Whereas if you're showing a 1 minute chart, there's plenty of opportunity to show these big green candles and so on, right? So showing this kind of look at what's happening, you can 10x your money, you can 20x your money, how hard is it, for people to say no to that, right? So it's very easy for people to get drawn into that, invest in something, expect this 10x, 20x, or 100x, and then when it doesn't happen, they go into Discords or socials, and then they may become a little bit frustrated, and then that causes a little bit of animosity. And you can see people fighting and kind of engaging in Discords and so on. And then hence the need for moderators, and obviously this back and forth continues for a little bit of time. But then let's start to think about what that creates in terms of the Discord itself and that community for that particular project. And then this is this is sort of crypto wide, right? Imagine 20 communities all doing this. So 20 projects, 20 Discords, 20 Telegram groups, 20 Twitters, 20 Facebook pages. And you can see where I'm going with this, right? You have like all of these communities all engaging with this kind of, I don't want to say negativity or kind of nastiness, but this real tangible frustration. And then you have the project, the project founders or the owners themselves, and the dev teams, and the people who are out there trying to make this project work, trying to calm the community down. And then it becomes this kind of balancing act, where the stress is, coming from both sides. And then it kind of just stays there for a little while. And there's a bit of tension back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's almost, you can almost cut it with a knife, right? So the reason that this is important, and the reason that I wanted to discuss this today, is because I was kind of thinking, when we type something on a screen, do we think about what's going off on the other side of the screen? When a person types something and said, why is this project not doing this, or why is the volume so low, or why this or why that, and they ask a valid question, and somebody will immediately jump on them because they have their particular concerns, and they'll say, no, this is this and this is that, and you just have to be patient, and you obviously don't know what you're talking about, and this is not a 10x and this is not a 20x and blah blah blah. Are we like, does that person think, wait a minute, for all I know, this person may be invested with money, they may have made a mistake, they may have took money that they weren't supposed to take, they may be invested in a project that they made a bad investment, they may be sitting underwater, they're sitting there praying that this thing goes back up so they can just get out, fix the problem, and just take it out and move on. So we have to, I guess what I'm really trying to get at is take a step back, and even if this video reaches one person, that thinks twice before they type, because I try to do that as well, and I've made many, many mistakes, when I type on a keyboard, and I immediately, without even thinking, bang, 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 bang on the keys, and then I press enter, and I'm like, oh shit, what did I just do? And then boom, a string of messages comes through, and you just can't take it back. You've already put it out there, and try to think, try to avoid situations like that by putting yourself in the shoes of the other person, and really think about maybe calming the situation down, as opposed to at least giving people, I guess, realistic expectations of what is actually going on, with the markets, what's going on in the crypto space, the expectations of these 10x and 20x and 100x's, and these ridiculous notions of what they are, right? Now, there obviously are going to be leeches out there and sharks and people who really just do not care, and they just want a payday, okay? And they will manipulate situations to get the best of any deal that they can, to make any amount of money, to serve their best interests. And this is just the nature of this business. There is nothing you can do about this. It takes all sorts in the world, and this has got nothing to do with cryptocurrency. This is just the way the world is. There are people, who are cutthroat. There are people who, care about money and really strive for it. There are people who've got no interest in money. There are people who are in the middle. I mean, there's just all sorts. There's all sorts of types of people. And this is what makes the world, the way that it is, right? But how you are in life will be how you are in the markets, right? But 100x, okay? As in, it's going to be amplified by 100, 1,000, 20,000. I mean, everything about you, your emotions, your physical makeup. And when I say physical makeup, I just mean like, as in the way that you present yourself in terms of like me, I'm quite energetic, right? So when I'm engaging with the markets, when I say physically, I become more intense. Yeah. So everything is engaged, like everything is just 100 times worse. So that is both emotionally, psychologically, physically, just everything about you is amplified so much when you're engaging with with the markets. And this is something that we really need to be mindful of, really need to take into consideration, because if we don't rein it in, we don't realize that that's actually what's happening to us, and then our expectations become so wild that we don't see the reality of what's actually happening right in front of us. We see something completely different. We see a skewed version of what we think is happening as opposed to what is actually happening. And then we start to make poor investment decisions. We start to miss opportunities that are there. We start to put ourselves on the wrong side of situations that make no sense. And then more importantly, putting the money aside for a second, we start to engage in a way that is very negative. We start to put ourselves on the wrong side of conversations. We start to get pulled into conversations we just don't really need to be involved in. We start to snap for no reason. We may see a comment that somebody says and then bang, we're on it straight away when we really don't need to get involved. And instead of being peacemakers, we start to become instigators. And all of this is just noise, really. I mean, isn't the whole point of investing to invest? Not the whole point of investing is to put some money into something, i.e. to pay money to start a fight, to cause animosity, to piss people off, to scrap with people, to go in and out of discords, to exhaust yourself, to give yourself a headache, to stress. I mean, this is not what this is about, right? So it's going to be a short one today. I just wanted to kind of address a few things. It's a little bit muddled up today. I just wrote some notes down and I just kind of wanted to plaster my thoughts on the screen and then just kind of go through them very, very quickly. Maybe there's something, in this episode that you can pick up from. And I hope there is. And as always, I hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day or evening, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. All the best. Take care and stay crypto positive, guys.